Welcome to today's coffee break webinar.
Many people, including those involved in the manufacturing, marketing, and selling of lubricants, believe that blending is simply a matter of putting one or more base oils and several additives into a tank of some kind and mixing them. However, blending lubricants that meet customer demands requires much more than this. I welcome and thank the distinguished panelists, Mr. Manoj Srivastava, Dr. Rupesh Roshan, and Mr.
Hello.
KNV Subramaniam, and all of you for coming together today. In this discussion, our panelists will share some ideas and insights on enhancing lubricants, blending, and quality assurance. We will try and get some tips, touch upon some challenges, and understand how to make the most of lubricants blending and quality assurance. Thank you, and over to the panelists.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's my privilege
Hello.
Hello.
It's my privilege to have a valuable tips and then inputs from you, both the industry experts. So I would like to have my first question to Mr. Manoj. Manoj, of course it's a basic question, but a lot of enthusiastic youngsters are getting into the lubricants blending, and then they're starting the blending plants all over the world and all over India as well. So there are some people, to get into this, the first question that comes out to be, how much area do I require for starting up of a blending plant? And, what sort of, considerations to be, taken up for that, area selection, or you can say the plant environment. So can you give us some valuable insights in this?
Sure, Subhu. So see what happens is obviously, as is evident, that the size of the plot or the factory area will depend on the capacity of the plant. So if a very small size plant is required, let's say 400 to 500 kL per month, then you require an area of around 12 to 15,000 square foot. And if you are going for a bigger or a slightly bigger plant, let's say 1000 kL or 1200 kL per month, then you require around 40,000 square foot area.
Okay, great.
And obviously, if you are going for something of very large scale, like let's say Indian Oil plant or Bharat Petroleum, so they require almost like 2 lakh or 3 lakh square feet area. Okay. Then coming to the configuration, it is always better to have road on two sides of the plant, ideally, so that you can have a material flow, material coming from one side and going out from other side. And the other option will be L shape, where the two adjacent sides corner, if it is there. Meaning to say that as much road is possible to be adjacent to, so the vehicle coming and going, that becomes very easy. And if the road is only on one side of the plant, then what happens that you have to design a plant where the material flow is in a U shape. You enter from one side, then go around the plant and come out from the same side on the road.
Okay.
So that I think answers your question about the area and the configuration of the plant. And obviously the other thing, the power line should be near, and the sewage disposal, that all thing, rainwater, stormwater drain, all that thing needs to be taken care.
Okay, great. The immediate question that comes to me after the the selection of area to Rupesh, I mean the next question obviously most of us will be looking at the raw materials part. How do we select the raw materials, and what are the the selection criteria of these raw materials? And of course, what kind of acceptance criteria when we are buying these base oils, and then various base stocks and all. You have n number of the people who are supplying it. So for a new venture of this blending plant, how do we select this lubricant? You can say the raw materials, and what basis we should accept it in order to produce a quality product.
A very valid question and a pertinent question to ask. So let me put it this way: the first time anyone is thinking of having a lube plant, So in order to have that lube plant, the first thing is that comes to individual mind, that the raw material what we are going to select, is it going to be the raw material which is going to meet the cost perspective, or it is going to meet the quality perspective? But interestingly, you will figure it out. Neither of these two are going to be critical unless and until the supply chain is established. So the first thing is that it might be that if you're sitting in India and probably you get the best raw material in Europe, and if the supply chain is not there, which is going to give you the access to the raw material, again, you cannot go for that, because that will add up to the cost, and that will lead to the product cost, which is going to be out of market or not competitive to be placed in. So the first thing is that when we talk about the raw material for a quality department sitting in the lube plant, the raw materials are two types. The first raw material, which is going to go for the product, and the second raw material what we check for is the quality as well as the compliance with respect to the packaging material. So all these things are done by the quality. So if we are making a lubricant oil, let's put it this way, you need to have a quality check on all the raw materials what you get. The supplier will give you the data sheet or the material data sheet as well as specifications, to along which you have to check it. So you need to have an understanding in terms of what are the raw materials you are getting, what are the parameters you are going to look into. You are going to look into the physical parameters, as for example, the viscosity of the base oil. You are going to look into the chemical parameters of that. That means you are going to check for how good the flash point is, how good the lubricant is going to hold when it comes to the compatibility. So you are going to do a lot of testing on the base material, which is the base oil. Moving forward, you will be adding a lot of additives to that. So the additives, what you are going to get it's not going to be a single vendor. It is going to be multiple vendor, and the additives which are available in the market, they do vary with respect to performance from vendor to vendor. So when we are making the product, it's very necessary in order to understand how good the products are in terms of the properties as well as the compatibility of the raw material. So I talked about the oil. If we are talking about the greases, then you need to work on the thickness side also. That means you need to understand the quality of the thickness. Here we will be using polymers. So in order to get the polymers, you need to look into the density of the polymer, because the density of a polymer is going to massively affect the performance. And along with that when we talk about all these things, a very important thing which plays as a raw material in a lubricant plant are the solvent. Now, when we talk about the solvent, they are sometimes needed for dissolving additives. Sometimes they are used as a product material. And what happens is that when we are using all this product, the safety comes into picture, because the safety of the solvent, where you will be putting in the plant, in what conditions you will be putting in. So all those criteria are very important. So in a nutshell, if you talk about the quality of the raw material, the first thing is that it has to be top notch. The second, it has to meet the failure conditions. That means, for example, if you get a drum to pack the lubricant, it has to, you need to ensure that the product is safe when you are transferring the product, as well as when it sees a minor accident. So in that case, safety tests are performed on the material. When we talk about the final product, again, the packaging and everything is taken into account, and those final products are also tested. So this is the overall scenario. That means we try to work on different type of raw materials. We do a lot of testing in order to ensure that the safety as well as the product integrity remains.
Agreed. Valuable insights from the raw material selection. Then, I mean, when you're talking about the quality, something was just striking me in my mind. Next thing, when comes into to ensure the quality of the product, what kind of tests generally is applicable in the industry, and at what stages of production it should be applied?
Yes.
Yeah, Rupesh.
So when we talk about the quality of the product, the first thing is that when the product formulation is met. So while making the formulation, we look into every intermediate stage. That means when we are adding different raw materials, what actually happens to the product. So those are the initial stages in order to just flag out in terms of that means when we are translating the product from the research stage or initial small scale to a bigger scale. So what will happen is that we figure it out that at those points or instances we see a major change in the product formulation. So we call it as a in process manufacturing. We do the quality check. So if you are, for example, if you are making a oil, you will be using a base oil, and it might be that you are using a polymer. So what happens is that when you mix base oil with the polymer, it might be enhanced to enhance the viscosity. Then what you will be doing is that at that stage you will be checking the viscosity. It might be in a small scale when we were working in the lab, the viscosity was met. It can be a possibility that just because of the change in process or expansion in process, the viscosity may not be the same what we have achieved in the lab scale or a small scale. So in that case, we go for fine tuning the process first of all, as well as the formulation side in order to achieve the viscosity what we want. So this is the first stage what we do. Then going forward, what happens is that we keep on tracking the process altogether unless and until it is fully established. Once it is fully established, we go for the final check. That means in process, final check. Now this final check is met in order to see basically what is actually happening when we are not doing a continuous production, we are doing a batch to batch production. So the batch to batch variation has to be minimal. So in order to achieve that, we tend to have this quality check, and this quality check is basically is in a range. You can put it this way, in an acceptable range. You cannot get it a dot value of any of the parameters. It's actually a range which is applicable, and along with the R&D we come to that okay, if the application is in a particular machine, this range of a product should go in application. So in that way that is done. Then later on, when the packaging is done, the first thing is that once the material is packed, it's a very important thing that if we are talking about the greases, basically with respect to the greases, what actually happens that the product might lose oil. Those we call it as a oil separation. Then the storage is also done. Now when we are doing the production, it's not practical that we need to keep the product for so many days and after that we are going to send the product to that. So what we do is that we do the accelerated quality test in order to see whether the product is stable or not. And if it is stable, then we ship the product to the customer. So in summary, I would say we do the in-process checking, final stage processing, process quality check, as well as when we say that before the shipment is getting delivered, we do the final check in order to see that there is no batch-to-batch variation of the product.
Okay, great. I mean, in this perspective, I also get one more question. Like, these days, almost the IIoTs and then, lot of digitalization and automation is in place. Like everybody wants to, improve their production with, whatever best practices they can. So in the consideration of these lube blending plants, is automation is a absolute necessary thing, or how it adds value to the, plant?
See, Subbu, what happens is that obviously means there is no doubt about it that automation is better, but automation adds cost like anything to the loop blending project. So obviously there are some automation things which are absolute necessary, like automatic weighing of the tank or the material which is going inside, automatic flow meters and all. That is an absolute must, because we can't rely. See, the other option, if you are doing it manually, is you transfer oil, then take dip from the tank, and then you find that something extra is required, you start the pump and wait. That all adds to time, and there is no accuracy in it.
Absolutely.
So as you know, anyone will tell you that the reason for going for automation is that it leads to precision and consistency. That it will not
Correct.
happen that sometime it will be -1% and sometime +1% or whatever.
Agreed.
Always
Agreed.
it will be within a very narrow range. Then
Okay.
automation also, one thing it takes care is that it avoids human error. We are relying on machines which are not
Agreed.
biased, which do not get tired. Okay, you are working for 7.5 hours. So after that, towards end of the shift, if you will see the history of accidents, you find
Mm-hmm.
that accidents usually happens at the end of or the start of the shift. The
Correct.
changing, whether it is
The
Bhopal
changeover
gas
period.
or yes,
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 yes. The
anything.
changeover periods. Correct.
Yes.
Which are very crucial.
And
Yes.
and automation also, it gives increased efficiency. Then
Okay.
real-time monitoring we can have. You don't finish a
Okay.
step and then you do the measuring that how much quantity has gone or whatever. Also,
Okay.
there are some automation which are required for safety purpose, like the overflow of the tank or these kind of things. And
Okay.
heavy automation, they also lead to labor savings. Like
Of course.
carton packing and all, if you are having automatic carton packing machine, then a single machine, you can avoid 2 or 3 labors to do that job.
The automation definitely adds a value, but it has to be the cost proposition. One has to, look into it and then, slowly, implement it. Absolutely agreed. And that was a very good, explanation on this. So it is, in a nutshell, we can say the key parameters that should be considered are more product specific and application specific, and of course the other parameters like your salt analysis, the speed, ambience, load, and then other parameters. So I thank you, both of you, Mr. Manoj and then Rupesh, for spending your valuable time. And really, it's a great inputs from your side to the people who are enthusiastic to start their blending plants or improve their existing plants in their operational procedures. So this will add so much value. I thank you once again.
If you really want to get an in-depth understanding of the principles, economics, and flexibility of lubricant blending plants and how to operate a lubricants blending plant, join us in our upcoming training on Masterclass in Lubricants Blending and Quality Assurance. We have specially crafted this 3-day extensive training, which is a live online training and is scheduled from 22nd to April 24th, 2024. And you will be able to clarify all your doubts with the trainer during the training. For participants of Coffee Break webinar and who register within 7 days from now, you have a special deal. You will be getting 5% discount on the course fee. You will also get a copy of Lubrication Engineer's Handbook, Noria Academy app and a 2024 table calendar. If you have more queries on today's topic, you can write to us at info@lubrication-institute.com. These queries will be answered via email. Thank you for your participation. Looking forward to see you in our next training and webinar. Good day.